Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like something inside you had quietly shut down, like a part of your mind, once full of drive and clarity, had dimmed without warning? It's not just you. Beneath the surface of our daily lives, there's a quiet war happening, a war we rarely acknowledge, not because it's hidden, but because we've learned to live with it. We wake up already tired, not just in our bodies, but in our hearts and minds. It's like an invisible weight settled on us while we slept. We reach for our phones, scroll for meaning, drink coffee to simulate energy, and drift through another day in a fog. Joy feels flat, motivation feels far away, and connection, it's reduced to emojis and short replies. We blame our jobs, our routines, our phones, even the weather. But beneath all of that, there's something deeper going on. Our brain chemistry is out of balance, and one of the most overlooked elements, dopamine. Dopamine isn't just a pleasure chemical, it's your inner engine, the spark behind your motivation, the fuel for your focus. It's what helps you strive, show up, and feel satisfied when you do. When dopamine levels are healthy, life feels lighter, your energy has direction, your emotions have space to breathe. But when dopamine drops, even simple tasks feel overwhelming. And in today's world, filled with overstimulation on one end and burnout on the other, many of us are unknowingly running on empty. But here's the good news. Dopamine is not out of reach. You don't need a prescription to feel alive again. You don't need to escape your life to rebuild your inner fire. There are powerful, natural ways to rewire your brain and awaken your motivation again. And that's exactly what we'll explore today. These 10 practices aren't about chasing perfection, they're about reconnection. They're about reclaiming the small daily habits that quietly rebuild your mind, your clarity, your energy. So if you've been feeling stuck, numb, or simply not like yourself, this is for you. Because when you learn to boost dopamine intentionally, slowly, and consistently, you don't just feel better, you become better, clearer, more grounded, more aligned with who you really are. Let this be a return, not to chasing happiness, but to restoring balance, to waking up energized from within, not from outside approval. Because your emotional well-being isn't a luxury, it's the foundation of everything. Let's rebuild it, one step at a time. Let's begin with the simplest, yet most powerful shift. Move, even slowly. Have you noticed how different life feels after a short walk? Not just in your body, but in your mind. The fog lifts, tension eases, your thoughts clear, your breath deepens. That's not a coincidence, that's chemistry. Even slow, gentle movement boosts dopamine. Your body sends a message to your brain: we're alive, we're moving. We're not stuck. But in a world obsessed with performance, we treat movement like a chore. 10,000 steps, calorie goals, workout streaks. But the truth is, your body doesn't need a spectacle. It needs rhythm, it needs breath, it needs motion. Dopamine doesn't wait for the perfect gym session. It responds to movement, to momentum, to you returning to your body. But when we're low, movement is the first thing we stop doing. We sit, we scroll, we spiral. But that's exactly when movement is most needed. Not to impress, not to punish, but to reset. Because when the body stagnates, the mind follows. This isn't just modern science. The Stoics knew it 2,000 years ago. Cleanthes, a Stoic philosopher, hauled water by night and studied by day. For him, physical work wasn't separate from clarity, it was the gateway to it. He moved his body so his thoughts could stay sharp. And today, you don't need to be a philosopher to apply that wisdom. Overwhelmed by work, feeling stuck in your head? Instead of thinking harder, what if you just went for a walk? What if 10 minutes outside shifted your chemistry more than 2 hours at your desk ever could? Because movement doesn't just boost dopamine, it also regulates serotonin, norepinephrine, and endorphins. It doesn't solve every problem, but it strengthens your capacity to face them. And the best part? It doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need to sweat. You don't need fancy shoes. You don't even need to track it. You just need to begin. Right now. Stand up. Stretch, breathe, walk barefoot for a minute, step outside if you can, let the sunlight touch your skin, let the breeze meet your face. Do it not because you're broken, but because you were never meant to stay still for so long. Do it because movement is truth, because a body in motion leads the mind home again, because healing isn't a grand moment, it's a steady return to something simple, presence. Let movement be part of your rhythm, let it be your beginning. Let's continue where we left off. Movement isn't punishment, it's permission. Permission to reconnect with your body, to reset your chemistry, to feel alive again, one breath, one step at a time. Now let's take that energy into the next layer of reconnection. How you nourish yourself. Eat with wisdom, not emotion. When we're stressed, overwhelmed, or emotionally drained, what's the first thing many of us reach for? Not stillness, not breath, not reflection. We reach for food, not because we're hungry, but because we're hurting, and for a fleeting moment, something salty, sweet, or creamy seems to take the edge off. It gives us the illusion of comfort, a break from the noise. But here's the part we rarely consider. Every time we eat emotionally, we're not just feeding our bodies, we're rewriting the code of our brains. More often than not, we're disrupting the natural balance of the very chemistry that keeps us grounded and driven, especially dopamine. Dopamine is deeply linked to nutrition. What you put on your plate literally determines how your brain functions. It shapes your emotional state, your ability to focus, and how foggy or sharp your mind becomes. Foods rich in protein, healthy fats, and the amino acid tyrosine are the building blocks of dopamine. These nutrients don't just fill your stomach, they fuel your focus, your clarity, your steady emotional rhythm. But when you swap real nourishment for sugar spikes and comfort cravings, you might feel relief for 10 minutes, and then crash for the rest of the day. You feel tired, unmotivated, restless, even anxious. The ancient Stoics didn't talk about dopamine or amino acids, but they understood this principle well. They knew that what we consume directly affects how we think, how we behave, how we show up in the world. Seneca once said, "Drunkenness is nothing but voluntary madness," and he wasn't just talking about alcohol. He was warning us about overindulgence in anything that dulls the mind or weakens our will. Food becomes that escape for many of us, especially when emotions are high and self-awareness is low. So the real question isn't, what should I eat to lose weight? Or, what's trending on social media? The deeper question is, what kind of food helps you feel steady, focused, and emotionally grounded? That's a very different conversation. It's not about shame, it's not about guilt, it's about awareness. How does your body feel after you eat that meal? How's your focus 2 hours later? Did it give you energy, or steal it? Let's take it further. Imagine starting your day with clean hydration, lean protein, and some greens before opening your phone, before facing the outside world. In that moment, you've sent your brain a powerful message. I choose stability over stimulation. You've built dopamine through nourishment. Not caffeine, not sugar, but something real, something lasting. Your emotions stay calmer, your cravings soften, you feel more rooted in your body and your decisions. Now contrast that with skipping breakfast or binging late at night. You wake up groggy, your blood sugar crashes before noon, you get snappy, restless, and start chasing dopamine from outside. Scrolling, snacking, reacting, and it's not because you're lazy, it's not a lack of willpower. Your brain is simply trying to compensate for what your food didn't provide. That's why eating with wisdom isn't a trend, it's self-respect. It's not about perfect eating, it's not about rules, it's about identity, about asking yourself, how do I want to feel today? And letting that answer guide your plate. Yes, it takes effort. Yes, it takes honesty. You'll need to ask, am I really hungry? Or am I avoiding something? It takes strength to say no to the quick fix. But every time you choose nourishment over numbing, you reclaim a part of yourself. You tell your nervous system, I don't need to run from this feeling. I can face it. I can breathe. I can respond. not just react, because food is more than fuel, it's information. Every bite is a signal to your cells, your mood, your motivation. And when you build your meals with intention, you're not just feeding your body, you're shaping the way your mind will feel, hours, even days, from now. So the next time you open the fridge, in a moment of stress or sadness, pause, take a breath, ask, what do I really need right now? Maybe it's food, maybe it's stillness, maybe it's connection, maybe it's just rest. Don't just feed your feelings, feed your future, because what you consume becomes how you feel. And if you want to feel strong, clear, and motivated, your food has to reflect that choice. When you feed your body with wisdom, you don't just fuel your energy, you protect your clarity. Now let's talk about something just as vital, but often sacrificed, your sleep, because without real rest, even the most nourishing food and intentional habits won't take you far. Dopamine, your brain's spark for motivation, depends deeply on one thing: deep, restorative sleep. While you sleep, your brain isn't off, it's doing something remarkable. It enters a state of internal housekeeping, clearing out toxins, rebalancing hormones, restoring the delicate dance of neurotransmitters that regulate your emotions, your focus, your sense of drive. Without quality sleep, your dopamine receptors become less sensitive, and that means you'll need more and more stimulation to feel even a little motivated. Eventually, you stop feeling much at all. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how even the smallest problems feel massive? After a rough night's sleep, your patience thins, your motivation vanishes, and emotionally, everything feels louder. That's not just fatigue, that's your brain trying to operate on a drained battery, and it can't. Not well, not sustainably. The ancient Stoics didn't have neuroscience, but they knew this truth. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor and philosopher, reminded himself to rise and do the work of a human being, but he also understood you can't do the work without preparation, and rest is preparation. It's what allows you to meet life, not as a frantic storm, but as a calm, grounded presence. Without rest, your wisdom stays trapped in theory. With rest, your wisdom becomes action. It becomes strength. Yet in our modern world, how often do we trade real sleep for fake productivity? We stay up late, finishing tasks, scrolling endlessly, or numbing out in front of glowing screens. We tell ourselves we're being efficient, but in truth, we're stealing from tomorrow, stealing from our clarity, from our emotional stability, from our ability to show up fully and mindfully. One of the most powerful decisions you can make for your mental well-being isn't to work harder, it's to sleep better. And no, this doesn't mean perfection. You don't need to get 8 hours every single night. But what you do need is rhythm, consistency, a boundary around your evenings that says, this time is mine. This is when I reboot my soul. Dim the lights, shut down the noise, let your mind slow down. Give yourself permission to transition from doing to being, from noise to stillness. It won't always be easy. You'll be tempted to check one more message, to do one more thing, to stay just a little longer. But remember this: a tired mind doesn't think, it complains. It doesn't solve problems, it creates them. If you want better mornings, start with better nights. Protect your sleep like your future depends on it, because it does. Make your bedroom a sanctuary, cool, dark, quiet, free from stimulation, free from judgment, a space where you're allowed and encouraged to let go, to fall, to rest, to heal. And if good sleep feels hard for you, start small. Set a consistent bedtime. Turn off screens an hour before sleep. Play gentle sounds. Practice deep breathing. Not because you're chasing perfect sleep, but because you're honoring your brain's deepest need to reset, to restore. So ask yourself, what would change in my life if I treated sleep as seriously as I treat my goals? Because every night you wanna rest, you're investing in the clarity of your thoughts, the steadiness of your mood, and the strength of your decisions. You're building a foundation that no supplement, no productivity hack, no morning routine can ever replace. You can't outrun exhaustion, but you can outsmart it. By making sleep a sacred act of self-respect, reboot your soul, night by night. If better sleep is how you reset your brain, then stillness is how you begin to hear it again. Now we step into something just as powerful, but often overlooked in a busy world: the courage to sit with yourself in silence. Not scroll, not distract, not analyze, just be. Imagine this: you feel overwhelmed, your emotions are bubbling, your thoughts spinning. Normally, you might reach for your phone, call someone, grab a snack, anything to escape that discomfort. But this time, you don't. You stop, you sit, you take a slow breath, and you ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? Not to dissect it, not to label it, just to witness it. And something subtle happens. The emotional noise softens, the grip of overwhelm loosens, and then, a shift. The part of your brain that fuels dopamine, your reward and motivation system, begins to activate. But not because of a notification, a sugar spike, or external achievement. It activates because you allowed yourself to simply be present with what is. That's the quiet power of stillness. This is why people who meditate regularly often report feeling more motivated, more emotionally balanced, more focused, not because they're avoiding the world, but because they're learning to face it from a place of inner calm. And stillness doesn't have to mean sitting cross-legged in silence on a mountaintop. It can be so simple: a quiet morning, alone with a cup of tea, 10 minutes, with your eyes closed, before you start the day, a walk with no phone, just your breath, your footsteps, and the rhythm of the world around you. The form doesn't matter, the intention does. You're not performing stillness to be spiritual or productive, you're using it to remember who you are beneath the noise. So ask yourself, what would change if I gave myself just 5 minutes of undistracted silence each day? What might you find there? Clarity, peace, grief you've been avoiding, maybe all of it. And that's okay, because stillness doesn't always feel good, but it always brings truth. And truth is where healing begins, where growth begins, where resilience begins. You don't need to be a monk to sit with yourself. You just need to be willing to pause, to sit, to hear the voice beneath the chaos, because only in silence can we truly hear our own voice. And sometimes, that voice, once heard, is all you need to begin finding your way back to strength, back to focus, back to a calm mind, and a grounded heart. Stillness gives us space to hear ourselves, but sometimes, what brings us back to feeling isn't silence, it's sound. Have you ever played a song and everything in you shifted? Your breath deepened, your shoulders dropped, your entire mood lifted or cracked wide open. That's not magic, that's dopamine. Music doesn't just entertain us, it moves us, literally and chemically. Neuroscience shows that listening to music we love activates the brain's reward system, boosting dopamine levels and creating a wave of connection, pleasure, and presence. That's why a song from a decade ago can bring back a memory you thought was long gone. Why one melody can make you cry, not from sadness, but from a strange kind of recognition. Because music speaks a language beyond words. It bypasses logic, cuts through noise, and reaches the rawest parts of us, the places thought can't always reach. And the beauty of it is, you don't need a therapist, you don't need a plan, you don't even need to explain, you just need sound, carefully chosen, deeply felt. In the world of the Stoics, music wasn't a central teaching, but the concept of internal harmony, of aligning your inner state with something higher, that was everything. Seneca often wrote about rhythm, not in music, but in life. Emotional rhythm, mental discipline. And what is music, if not rhythm come to life? When you're low, foggy, or disconnected, music can be a bridge, a hand reaching toward you in the dark, saying, you're not alone, you can shift this moment. And what's more, It asks nothing from you, no effort, no explanation, no solving, just presence. It gives you an emotional mirror, or, on some days, an emotional reset. So let's talk practically. You're stuck, can't focus, feeling flat or anxious. Instead of grabbing another coffee or mindlessly scrolling, try this. Close your eyes, put on a piece of music that truly moves you, not background noise, not whatever's trending, something that resonates with your inner world. Let it wash over you, feel where it lands in your body, notice how your breathing shifts, notice if your thoughts soften, let it guide you back to center. This isn't escapism, this is recalibration. Different types of music support different states. Uplifting music can spark motivation, reignite drive, help you rise when you're low. Calming music can ease anxiety, lower your heart rate, and help you come back into your body. Instrumental or classical music can unlock focus, stimulate creative flow, without overwhelming your mind. And yes, even sad music has its place, not to make things worse, but to let your pain breathe, to let it move through you, so it can leave. But here's the key: intentionality. Don't just consume music the way we consume content. Choose it, curate it, use sound as a tool, a companion in healing, a guide for thinking, a mirror for feeling. Make playlists for your states, for mornings, for reflection, for movement, for rest. Let them be yours, not just popular, not just background, but personal. You'd be surprised how often motivation doesn't come from logic, or goals, or discipline, but from one song that reminds you who you are. That's the quiet power of sound, not distraction, alignment. And emotionally, this changes everything. You start to see that you don't always need to fix how you feel. Sometimes, you just need to feel it, fully, safely, and let it pass through you. Music gives you that space, that movement, that gentle release. So ask yourself, what's the soundtrack to the version of me I'm becoming? What songs awaken the part of me that's been quiet for too long? Play it, feel it, let it do its quiet work. Because what can't be spoken, music carries. It always has. Music can lift us, realign us, and even remind us of who we are. But just as powerfully, so can the people we surround ourselves with. Because dopamine doesn't rise in isolation alone. It flourishes in connection, but only when that connection is real. Have you ever left a conversation feeling lighter, more understood, more alive? And have you also left others feeling drained, confused, or quietly ashamed? That contrast, it's not just emotional, it's chemical. Relationships literally shape your brain. The people you allow into your life influence how much dopamine your brain produces, how steady your mood is, how strong your motivation feels, and even how you perceive your own worth. Human connection isn't a luxury, it's a biological need, a neurological requirement for well-being. And not all connection is created equal. We often think more is better, more friends, more followers, more group chats, more socializing, but sometimes, the crowd is the problem. What really matters is quality over quantity. One or two people who truly see you, who lift your energy, challenge you gently, and make you laugh from the soul. That's far more powerful than 50 surface level connections, because every interaction is an input, and over time, your brain becomes what it's most consistently exposed to. So let's get practical. Start paying close attention to how you feel after social interactions. Do you feel energized or depleted, centered or scattered, clear or confused? That's not just your mood speaking, that's biology. That's your nervous system reacting to the chemistry of connection. And the more you honor those signals, the more you begin to consciously curate an environment that supports your mental and emotional health, rather than sabotaging it. And just as importantly, be that kind of nourishing presence for others. Listen without trying to fix, celebrate without comparing, show up without pretending. Be the kind of energy you wish someone would bring to you, because connection is a mirror, and when you offer someone that space to be fully themselves, you create the conditions for something rare, real reciprocity. Not obligation, not drama, not performance, but mutual elevation. So if you're feeling mentally heavy, unmotivated, or emotionally numb, don't just look inward, look around. Who's in your space? Who do you allow access to your time, your thoughts, your emotional energy, and do they truly deserve that access? This isn't about harsh judgment, it's about sacred protection, because in the end, your environment, both internal and external, becomes the architecture of your well-being, and sometimes, the most powerful step toward a healthier, more motivated mind is simply choosing to walk with better people. People who lift you without even trying. People who help you feel more like yourself, not less. So ask yourself, who energizes me without effort? Who helps me come back to who I really am? Who am I becoming because of the company I keep? Because a true friend doesn't exhaust you, they restore you. They don't pull you out of alignment, they help you return to it. And that kind of relationship, it's not a bonus, it's not optional, it's medicine. You can change your whole state of mind by choosing who you surround yourself with. But there's another, often forgotten way to boost your dopamine, and it lives within you. Do what you love, not just what's expected. Think about it. When did you stop doing things just because they made you feel alive? When did joy become something you had to justify or postpone, until every chore was done, every task completed, every box checked? Somewhere along the path to becoming responsible, many of us traded passion for pressure. We gave up the things that lit us up in exchange for what we thought we should do. And in that quiet trade, something essential slipped away. We lost our natural connection to dopamine, the kind that flows freely from doing what awakens your soul, not just from checking off another obligation. Doing what you love, whether it's painting, cooking, writing, gardening, crafting, running, playing music, reading fiction, or simply sitting under a tree, is not a luxury, it's neurological nourishment. These kinds of activities, the ones that fully engage you, that pull you into the present moment, that make time disappear, they activate your brain's reward system. They produce sustainable dopamine, the kind that doesn't spike and crash, but instead builds a steady current of clarity, focus, and inner motivation. And the more time you spend doing these things, the more emotionally balanced you feel, the more mentally focused you become, the more energized you are to handle everything else. The Stoics believed in discipline and duty, but they also believed in eudaimonia, a flourishing life, a soul that thrives. They didn't separate virtue from joy. To them, living in alignment with your nature meant living with purpose, with clarity, and yes, with pleasure. Not shallow pleasure, not indulgence, but the deep, fulfilling kind that comes from expressing who you really are. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." So ask yourself, how often do your thoughts turn toward what truly moves you? Let's ground this in something real. Think of a time when you were fully absorbed in something you loved. Hours felt like minutes. Your worries faded. You weren't trying to be productive, you were just present. That's what doing what you love does to your dopamine. It creates focus without force, energy without effort, clarity without caffeine. But somewhere along the way, we start abandoning these things. We tell ourselves we don't have time, that it doesn't pay the bills, that we'll get to it someday. But here's the truth. If you don't make space for what fuels you, you'll burn out doing what drains you. There's no virtue in self-abandonment, and there's no wisdom in living only for what's expected of you. So start small, give just 15 minutes to something that brings you joy, and protect it like it matters, because it does. Let yourself enjoy without explanation, create without perfection, play without apology. Let yourself remember who you were before the world told you who you had to become. And no, this doesn't mean quitting your job, or walking away from your responsibilities. It means reclaiming the part of you that was never meant to disappear. Your curiosity, your wonder, your creative spark. Because when you water that part of yourself, everything else gets better. Your mood lifts, your energy returns, your stress softens, your resilience strengthens, dopamine flows, not from proving something, but from being someone. So ask yourself, what did I once love that I've neglected? What small act of joy could I return to today? Don't wait for permission. Don't wait until you have time. Make time, not because it's urgent, but because it's essential. Because happiness isn't a distant goal, it's a daily practice. And it begins with doing what lights you up, without guilt, without shame, without needing to explain. Doing what you love reawakens your joy. But to truly feel that joy, you must first learn to let go of what weighs you down. Release stress. Don't just resist it. Ask yourself honestly, how much energy do you spend each day just holding it all together, smiling when your chest is heavy, showing up for everyone else, while your own mind screams for rest, telling yourself to stay strong, even when your body quietly begs for stillness? We live in a world that glorifies resilience, but often misunderstands it. Real resilience isn't about resisting stress until you break. It's about knowing when to release it. It's about allowing stress to move through you, instead of letting it build inside you. Because chronic stress, the kind we carry silently, is one of the most dangerous thieves of our mental and emotional health. It drains your nervous system. It clouds your thoughts. It blocks dopamine production, the very thing that gives you clarity, focus, and motivation. And the longer that stress stays trapped in your body, the more control it takes over your mood, your sleep, your energy, and your sense of direction. But there's a powerful shift that happens when you stop resisting and start releasing. Sometimes that release is physical, a long walk, deep breathing, stretching, a cold shower, a run that shakes something loose. Other times it's emotional, crying without shame, journaling your thoughts without editing them, talking to someone who listens without trying to fix you. And sometimes, release is spiritual, a quiet moment of stillness, a whispered prayer, a few breaths of gratitude for simply being alive. The method doesn't matter, the intention does. You're telling yourself, I'm allowed to feel this, I'm safe to release this, and I'm not defined by this. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop fighting stress, when you let it rise and fall like a wave, you return to yourself, your breath deepens, your mind clears, your motivation returns. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer at war with your experience. Make it a daily ritual, even just 5 minutes. Put your hand on your heart, close your eyes, breathe deeply, name what you're carrying, then exhale it, not all at once, just a little bit at a time. Teach your body that it is safe to let go. Let your stress speak, then let it go. Because when the body rests, the heart breathes. And when the heart breathes, the mind speaks clearly. So ask yourself, where am I holding stress that no longer belongs to me? What would it feel like to release instead of resist? Don't wait for a breakdown. Choose the wisdom of release now, because peace isn't a reward you earn after the work is done. It's part of the work. And the more you release, the more you rise. Your brain isn't broken. Your soul isn't lazy. You're not unmotivated. You're just exhausted from chasing balance in a world that never taught you where to find it. But here's the truth. Everything you need to heal, to focus, to feel alive again, is already within you. And dopamine, it's just the messenger. It doesn't respond to perfection. It doesn't need intensity. It responds to consistency, to intention, to the small acts of self-respect you choose each day. You don't need a complete transformation overnight. You don't have to fix your whole life this week. What you need is to return to movement, to nourishment, to stillness, to sunlight, to joy, to friendship, to rest, to the daily decisions that tell your nervous system, I am here, I am healing, I am ready to feel again. The Stoics didn't chase happiness, they cultivated clarity. They didn't suppress emotion, they trained themselves to respond, not react. And that clarity, it's available to you right now, in your body, in your breath, in what you choose after this episode ends. So don't wait for motivation, build it. Don't wait to feel better. Create the conditions that allow you to feel fully alive, because you have more power than you think. And dopamine, it's not the destination, it's the signal, a quiet whisper telling you when you're in alignment, And when you've drifted, so start small, stay consistent, trust the process, because improving your mental and emotional health isn't about intensity, it's about honoring the basics, deeply, daily. If this episode helped you reset your perspective, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more reflections that reconnect you to what truly matters. And above all, keep showing up, because the smallest habits often build the strongest lives.